Cheers, big ears, and welcome to the Beach Travel Wine Podcast. We are your hosts, Leanne.
And I'm Lyle.
And we are not your usual travel influencers. No, we've decided we want to be travellers that travel under the influence. Okay, good joke?
Reasonable.
Well, there's plenty of more where that come from. So join us as we travel the world, one wine at a time. Well, hello, we're back for our second podcast. Hey, Lyle, how you doing?
Good morning, Leanne.
Doing good?
I'm feeling pretty fine,
yay.
thank you.
Today we're going to talk about our trip to London, but first we want to thank all those friends and family that have listened to our podcast. What have we had, 11?
Only friends and family have listened to the podcast.
But we did do a little stuff up in our first podcast, and because we don't edit, this is just all straight out off the bat. We might stop every now and then, but there's no editing. So if we make a mistake, we just keep going. That's what we do. That's what we're doing for you guys, isn't it, Lyle? We just plough on through.
Just plough on through.
Right. So in our last podcast about Paris, we said the entrance to the Louvre was, we had a little, disagreement, but Lyle said cube, I said triangle, and thanks to some really wise and helpful people that pointed out to us, it's actually a pyramid. So we knew that, but I don't know why we just didn't think about it at the time. So thanks everyone for your advice and your help. Really appreciate that. So, all right, so we are here in London, and how did we get here?
Yeah, well, we caught the Eurostar. So that was about, I think it left Paris at about 8 o'clock. Took 2 hours, about 2 hours, 15 minutes.
It was really quick and easy, wasn't it?
Yeah, obviously it's a fast train.
300 k's it goes.
Yeah, well, I think the record was 344k.
Okay.
It goes obviously underneath the channel. At its deepest point, I think it's 75 metres. Yeah. The weird thing was that you would have thought you'd sort of go through in some industrial area or even residential area when you reach London, but you don't. You hit right central London, and
all of a sudden you're there.
Yeah, and there's two. The station there is the St Pancras, is the international, and the actual domestic railway station is the King's Cross.
Yeah, cool, pretty cool. So, and then we got to our accommodation, which is the Citadines Holborn Covent Garden in London, and it is a fabulous area, isn't it? We can basically walk, if you do a circle, within a kilometre and a half. There's so many things to look at, and even as far as 5 kilometres, we can walk everywhere. We just love being here. You can just walk outside. There's coffee, and it's diagonally across from the underground, which is really helpful getting around the city if you don't want to walk. It's it's really fabulous. Coffee.
You've got a Sainsbury little supermarket, probably 100 metres from where we are. The Nero Coffee, which is an Italian franchise coffee place, and we've now discovered the Peruvian bean that they use, and you're probably paying about £3.50 for coffee, which isn't too bad.
No, that's pretty good. So we arrived on Sunday, and it was a beautiful sunny Sunday, and we headed straight to
Covent Garden,
the pub.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
On our way.
The pub was in Covent Garden.
Yeah, and it was a nice old English pub, and we had a pub food for lunch, and then we walked like another half a block, and we were actually in the sort of square area of Covent Garden. It's like a big square area, and it's got restaurants and bars and street performers and musicians, and all the British flags are flying, and across the pathways and stuff, because there was the big Jubilee celebration.
Yeah, it's Queen's 70th year as the monarch.
That's next weekend, so everything's looking really nice. And because I think the sun was out and it was Sunday, there were people everywhere, and that was great to see. We found another little pub to sit and people watch, and
the Prince of Wales, it was.
Oh, the pub we went to, yeah. So that was our first afternoon in London, and we planned to get round London the first day on the hop-on, hop-off bus. That was already sort of thought we would do that. And we chose the Toot bus of London simply because that was the guy that came up to us first at the bus stop. But it has a yellow line and a blue line, and you can pay, I think it's $37 for one day or pounds. £41 for 2 days. And so we've got the yellow line and the blue line, and where we're staying is like an easy 10-minute walk to where the yellow line starts. And you can hop on that and go past things like all the icons like Trafalgar Square, London Eye, St Paul's Cathedral, London Bridge, Tower of London, Buckingham Palace, Grosvenor Gardens, Hyde Park, Marble Arch, and it's a really good overview of those. And then if you want to get on the blue line, which we did the next day, you can once again go past Buckingham Palace, Parliament Street. You can't actually see 10 Downing Street from the bus. Hyde Park, Harrods, where the museums, that's where we got on. Notting Hill Gate, Bayswater Road, Paddington Station, Oxford Street, and also Piccadilly Circus was in there because we got off there a couple of times too. So we really would recommend the hop-on, hop-off bus.
Yeah, sure. Especially to do like a bit of a recce to see what you really want to see in more detail. So we both highly recommend that you do that.
What we did find though is we just sort of thought actually we could walk to these places quicker because the London traffic is... Wow, there's 15 million people or so live here. And
it's diabolical.
It just takes you 10 minutes to do a block in these sort of touristy areas. So on the bus, so they stop and start all the time. So you're just better off, if you can, to put your daggy old joggers on and head off for a walk. We've discovered that out of every 10 vehicles on the road, 9 of them are either the cabs or the red buses. You're definitely better off walking. And obviously you're going to see more. And on our way home, we hopped off at Piccadilly Circus and walked home that afternoon through Covent Garden again, and it was much quieter on the Monday. And so we sat and had as you have to, a G&T, don't you, on the terrace there. That was really nice. So a great day, just having a look around at everything, in where it is, and discover, sort of having a look at what you want to see, and it was a bit cooler, and so it was nice to get under cover a bit, wasn't it, that day? So.
One of the things that surprised me on the Sunday, there was a lot of street artists.
Street performers.
Street performers, and they were everywhere, and they were good. So when we went back on the Monday, I really didn't expect to see them again, but they were there. It's quite a lively area and well worth a visit.
Yeah, Covent Garden certainly is. So Tuesday we had a couple of things planned because I booked them before we left home, and something I wanted to do was go to the Natural History Museum, and I know that Lyle isn't a big fan of museums, me either actually. A wise man once said if you're going to a museum you must be in the city one day too long.
Correct.
Yeah, thanks Cal for that. But the Natural History Museum is the museum where the Night at the Museum 3 was filmed, and if you're watching those movies at night time all the skeletons and the animals and everything comes alive and it's a real adventure, and so the third one was actually filmed in London here, and the movie is called The Secret of the Tomb, and it's got Ben Stiller, Robin Williams, Owen Wilson, Ricky Gervais and Rebel Wilson, so it's a great movie. So if you watch that you'll see all the big whale skeletons and dinosaurs and things. It was pretty impressive, and I think once we got there the actual outside of the museum is stunning in itself, just amazing. And then you actually really were impressed once we got inside, weren't you? But I think too, not forgetting actually walking there, we had to walk past Hyde Park and Green Park, and it was beautiful.
I mean, the
Yeah, we
park.
decided to walk, didn't we?
Yeah,
Yes.
the actual walk to the museum was brilliant, and you walk through, you know, all the really ritzy places, through Mayfair, Park Lane, and of course you've got all the really ritzy hotels. In fact, there is the Ritz in. We walked past, and the Grosvenor and Claridge's, and all those hotels have the gentleman out the front in a three-piece suit
Some
and
with
the top hat.
Yeah, some have top hats, don't they?
Yeah. So, but
It's a
the
bit
actual walk was
yeah,
worth
that's
it.
true. I forgot we had done that. It sort of reminds you of being in a real life Monopoly game. You know, when you see all the Piccadilly Circus, Trafalgar Square, Mayfair, Park Lane. You know, Old Kent Road.
Yeah.
Yes.
It does, even though I've never been here. It seems familiar.
Yeah. Of course. Makes
But
sense.
so back to the museum. It's split up into probably 4 or 5 different areas. There's the dinosaurs, the mammals. There's evolution, yeah, and you've got the climate change,
environment one.
Environment. I found the
Earth one then as well. Yeah.
the Earth one.
And you enter that through this really long escalator, and it goes up, and there's this huge, big, it's like the Earth on fire, isn't it? And it's red and excuse you. It's red and glowing, and then you enter into that, and it has displays all about the plates on the Earth and volcanoes, and there's films, and there's interactive stuff. There's lots of school children there, and you can see why. It's just like all this fascinating stuff. And then Lyle got on that the simulator, didn't he?
Yeah, there was an earthquake simulator, and it's surprising how much it moves. And as I said to Liam when I got off, you start walking, you feel a bit like you're on a boat. You've got that feeling where you're still moving.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoyed that part of it. How, and Liam said, how the plates underneath the Earth are continually moving, and how the sun has so much to do with how our weather is. And then they went on to say how, describe how the dinosaurs disappeared, which, they claim basically that it was an asteroid hit the Earth. And,
there was a lot of theories though, wasn't there?
Yeah, but
and in
they said it had to be something as dramatic as that for a whole species to just disappear. Yeah.
And the dinosaur display was incredible. The full size skeletons of Tyrannosaurus and. No, we didn't see Diplodocus Dippy. He's coming back to the museum, but lots of small displays as well. Showing the different leg sizes and the muscles, and then they've got lots of dinosaurs up above your head as you walk through, and then after, if that's not impressive enough, you walk into the mammal display, and it's got that giant whale, which is about as long as 2 or 3 buses, isn't it? It's huge, and hanging around that are other skeletons from other whales and other mammals, and there's elephants and hippos and rhinos and dolphins and dugongs and seals, and just so much to look at there as well. It was fascinating. And the building's just beautiful too. I loved it. I really the whole thing, walking there and just exploring, and just even being outside of the Natural History Museum in South Kensington was absolutely brilliant. I loved it. So to top that off, we decided we were going to hop on the Blue bus line, but first of all we went to Harrods.
Yeah.
And if you've been to Harrods, you know how impressive it is, and if you haven't, you've just heard about it. But it's iconic. It's glamorous. It's ritzy. It's stunningly beautiful. Every display, the food display. The cakes, the
chicken rotisserie.
Yeah, the chicken rotisserie. Even that was impressive. Yeah. We decided we weren't going to hang around there too much because once again we're in our Aussie, denim shorts. Actually, I think we had jeans on. It was a bit cool. Anyway, denim and joggers, and just looking like a bit daggy, and people sort of looking at us. Obviously, they get a lot of tourists in there.
Yeah, but it does. Like, I was very surprised that they actually let us in once we got in there and had a look around, and then I was surprised we weren't frisked when we walked out. But I've been told that you can basically buy anything at Harrods, and there is, on the 5th floor, they have personal shopping.
Private shopping.
Private shopping. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. And so I'm assuming that's
where you buy anything.
Where you buy anything you like.
We only made it to the 1st floor, the latest fashion. Even that was a bit intimidating.
Yeah. But it was like.
So we didn't buy anything there. I said we went shopping, but we didn't. I looked at it and I was really blown away with Printemps, which was the department store in Paris. But Harrods is like on steroids compared to that. Yeah.
So it's, look, if you get the chance and you're in London, don't hesitate to go there.
And it is in that South Kensington area right near the museums. It's not just the Natural History Museum. There's the Science Museum and some others there as well. And because we had paid for our 2-day pass, we got on the blue line, which was right out the front. The stop's right out the front of Harrods. And we just did a bit more of a look around, Notting Hill, that sort of area, and ended up back again in Piccadilly Circus where we hopped off, and that's sort of becoming a bit of our station where we hop off, and it's an easy 20-minute walk from there home, much quicker than staying on the bus and getting home.
And Piccadilly Circus is not a circus. It's a
roundabout with a statue in it, and there's that curved street going off it, like the big arch, and
they have these huge screens that advertise, similar to, I suppose, what New York
is. Yeah.
But the other part of it is where West End, all the West End theatres are located, and you're sort of walking through, and you see the signs for Harry Potter, Les Miserables.
Mary Poppins, Tina Turner,
like they're just everywhere, and because of the huge signs, it's really you get a real good.
Pretty impressive. It's got like a big nest out the front of it.
Yeah, you get it's a really great feel.
Mm. Well, that's a good segue, Locke. So I was about to say we then went to West End show, and. Once again, we walked. It was sort of down through Chinatown. It was about a 20-minute walk from our hotel, and we went to see the Book of Mormons. And it was a great musical, a funny story. It's very in your face, and I'd say it's probably if you're easily offended, don't see it. But you can look that one up for yourselves. But we really enjoyed it, didn't we?
It was great. It was very cleverly done, very funny.
Yes.
And as Leanne says, if you're a little bit sensitive, you're not going to enjoy it.
But
obviously, Leanne and I are not that sensitive.
No, we laughed.
We thought it was hilarious.
Yeah. And it's actually every night the theatres are on. They're full. Ours was the Prince of Wales Theatre, and it's sort of glitzy without being over the top, and you can order drinks for half time, and it's a great experience, of course, to go to a West End show. It's just the worst thing is trying to choose which one to go to. So that was a pretty big day on Tuesday. So Wednesday we had nothing planned. It was a nice easy day, and we decided that we were going to walk to Buckingham Palace, and after a bit of a detour, we started one area and then decided we were going to go somewhere else, and so we ended up once again back there at Piccadilly Circus at that Cafe Concerto where we had a
Trafalgar Square.
You're right. Sorry, Trafalgar Square. And where we had a very expensive cup of tea and something to eat. What was that?
Yeah, £4.95 for a cup of tea.
It's nearly $10 for a cup of tea. But it was very special, They all had suits on and everything, so that was nice.
Sure.
So then we were ready for our walk to Buckingham Palace, and it's actually called the Mall, the big road going in through what is it?
Admiral Arch.
Yeah. The arches that go through, and once again, it's sort of most of it's blocked off for traffic because of the celebrations that are happening next weekend, and all the massive big flags are flowing and flying up there, and in the breeze it was pretty spectacular. And we're just walking along, and all of a sudden you hear horse hooves, and we're just like, what's going on here? And we actually caught the changing of the guard, and the beginning of that procession was sort of right at the end of the mall, wasn't it?
Yeah, so there's two sections to that. Like there's the horses, which are the Queen's Guards, and they're all the pageantry, and they look fabulous. And the horses, my goodness, how the size of them.
Yeah, and they're glistening, aren't they?
And then the second part of it is the band.
Yeah,
so we watched all that. And
we actually walked along with them, didn't we?
Yeah.
Because they went all the way up to Buckingham Palace, which we did too, but you actually couldn't get into Buckingham Palace because it is closed off.
But there's a huge statue of Queen Victoria at the entrance, just beyond the gates of Buckingham Palace. It's about 25 metres high. And yeah, very impressed.
Yeah,
very
it
impressed.
is beautiful there.
Yeah, and then all along the mall, as Leanne was saying earlier, you've got St James Gardens, which are...
Well, the park, isn't it? It's like a whole park full of gardens.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Lakes and ducks and swans and things.
Pelicans.
Pink pelicans.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, pink pelicans, yeah.
And we saw our first squirrel ever.
Yeah.
Well, for me it was.
I thought it was going to attack you, actually. So it was up on a fence and it ran across the road right near Lyle's feet. You didn't seem too fazed by it.
No, I was fine.
Yeah, you were fine. And so that was Wednesday, and we went
we continued on down to
across the Thames.
Across the Thames to Westminster Abbey.
Yeah, and we found out this. We went in obviously and had a look, and that was worth doing for sure.
Sure, £25 each, but
an audio tour.
You get the audio tour, and to be honest, I don't think you can go to London and not go and see these historical places. No. But as you walk towards the Abbey, there's a bunch of prominent statues.
Oh, heaps, yeah.
Yeah, and so you've got Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi. You've got Melissa Fawcett. She was the lady that was the first president of the women's suffrage.
And they're metres high, aren't they?
Yeah, they're huge. And then you've got there was one particular statue called, and it was Clive, and it didn't have a surname on it. And Leanne suggested that it may have been Clive Churchill.
It was the first Clive name that came to my head.
Sure. Now, Clive Churchill. Now, the thing was that the
War Memorial?
That particular statue was reasonably close to Winston Churchill. So I said to Leanne, look, it can't be Clive Churchill. Clive Churchill played football.
Could have been Winston's brother.
Well, yeah, maybe. But anyway, as it turned out, I said that I made it very clear that it wasn't Winston. In fact, it was Robert Clive who was, he was Clive of Bengal. He was the first administrator for the UK government in India.
Oh, well, thank you. Bloody Sir Encyclopedia Britannica.
Well, there you go. But
you didn't know that at the time, though, did you?
No, I didn't. I looked it up this morning. I did look it up this morning.
So we got to Westminster Abbey, and it's not actually a church.
Well, but
they do church services there, so it is a church.
Yeah, they do church.
It started as a monastery, and it's under the...
Yeah, it's under the rule of the monarch.
Yeah, so it's not part of the Diocese of London churches, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
But it's where they do the coronations and all that sort of stuff. And they...
And it's like this massive, big domes and wings. Like you can walk down the middle, but you go off to the side, and they've got lots of burial plaques and statues of famous people.
It's a crib, and you've got, but it's more to do with like
adventurers and explorers and
and poets. Chaucer, Charles Dickens, it's amazing. But funnily enough,
you can sort of feel the history around you, right?
Sure, yeah. and of course, everybody that's there you've heard of. So,
yeah.
But when we came out of there, we saw the coronation chair, which is its real name is the King Edward Chair, Now, the King Edward chair was made in 1300, and I've got to tell you, it looked like it was made in 1300.
Actually, it looks like it was like made from a pallet from Bunnings, I reckon.
Yeah, fair call.
Someone tacked some, fancy fabric on it. But it is, like, you can imagine, that's hundreds of years old, really. Like,
1300,
yeah.
1300.
So
nearly
when you
1,000
look at it
years.
and think who sat on that, over the years, that's pretty.
Sure, I think
impressive.
they could go up market, though. Although it's not the throne.
No.
It's not the throne.
Do they still use it for coronations today?
Yes, they do.
Oh, I wonder who the next one will be.
Yeah, or whether there will be.
Oh.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. Oh, you're not sure? Oh, okay, fair enough. So that was our lovely walk, and we wandered on home.
We went for a walk along the Thames.
Yeah. Which is, the weather wasn't that nice, and we don't do bad weather very well. We're sort of clear weather sailors, aren't we, really?
Yeah. Well, I think, didn't we then catch the underground to Piccadilly Circus again?
Probably.
Yeah, and that, again, the whole
how cool
deal...
is that?
Yeah, the whole deal with the underground is it's just, you don't buy a ticket, you just tap your credit card.
Yep.
So you tap it when you walk in, and then or your debit card, and then you tap it when you leave the station that you are leaving from.
You can still buy tickets, but the guy at the train station, and every train station we've been to, we've spoken to people and asked for help. They have been so helpful and friendly and given us such good information. They said you can buy a ticket if you like, but it's much cheaper and much easier to use your card. So we're actually going to try that tomorrow morning. We're actually heading out tomorrow back to the airport. And I'm a bit nervous because we've got to get all the way to Heathrow, but we're going to do it on the underground. It's the quickest and easiest, apparently. Anyway, there'll be more on that next podcast. Hopefully it's drama-free. That was really great. And we found this really nice little restaurant not far from here called Wagamama.
Yeah, Wagamama.
Yeah, which is a Japanese word for indulgence, really. Right, so
I thought it was a town in outback New South Wales.
That's Wagga Wagga.
I was close.
Wagga. Yeah, maybe it's the sister town. And they do really nice Japanese and Asian food. So we've eaten there a couple of times because it's really close to home and it's really fresh and nice food. So, yeah. Now, Thursday, we did one of my bucket list items, Chelsea Flower Show. But I'm going to do a little separate podcast all about the Chelsea Flower Show. But just know it was everything I was hoping it would be. And, there was only one real negative, and that was I ended up with a foul tight ponytail. And for those that don't know me, when I say tight ponytail, I mean hangover, which was well deserved. But we'll talk about that.
That was on the Thursday.
Yeah, that was the Chelsea Flower Show. And so Friday, another free day, we headed to
St Paul's.
St Paul's Cathedral, which is, once again, an easy walk from our hotel. This one's in the other direction, more through the working business centre rather than touristy areas. And what was it, 20 minutes, if that?
Yeah.
Yeah, to St Paul's. Now, St Paul's is the head church.
Yeah, that's the mother church of the Diocese of London. So
yeah. And they do
where the Westminster is connected to the monarchy.
Yeah.
The St Paul's is connected to and run by the Diocese of London.
And it was first started being built in 1675, but it had fires and it's had all sorts of stuff happen to it, hasn't it? So
very good, Leanne.
Thank you, Tom.
I'm impressed.
Yeah.
You've actually done some research. Well done.
I did listen to the audio tour.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we did the audio tour there, and again, it's amazing. And
those audio tours are good, though, aren't they? We did that at Westminster Abbey as well.
Yeah. They were.
It's just part of your entry fee,
Yeah, and that was, I think, £21.
Yeah, it was cheaper to go to St Paul's than Westminster Abbey, wasn't it?
£21 each, which.
But it's a big church where Princess Di, or she was Diana Spencer at the time, and Charles. That's where they got married.
Sure.
In that big church. It's also where they had the funeral for Lord Nelson and Winston Churchill, not his brother Clive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just Winston.
Yeah.
So it has got the most incredible dome up the top. There was a big bit of bitching and moaning about that when they built it. Someone wanted it colour and someone didn't, and they thought that having colour would be a bit too disrespectful, didn't they? And
that was to do with the Roman Catholic Church. They didn't want to. If they used colour in the to do the drawings, that they felt that it would be too like the Roman Catholics.
But now there's colour everywhere.
Yeah.
It sort of glistens with colour.
Yeah.
It's but the not the minister at the time said, you know, okay, if we're going to have colour, it has to be by an Englishman
Yeah.
and an Anglican. That
Yeah.
was, they were his, you know, he didn't care what it looked like as long as the person who painted it was, from
And that
England.
was bombed during during the Blitz. So it has been repaired. But look, it's fabulous.
It's massive, you know,
Yeah,
the choir part and the pulpit.
Yeah,
you know,
I
and-
was more probably impressed with that, the way that it was set out and everything.
in Westminster.
Westminster, maybe because it's not as old, but
And it's glamorous, really. That's probably not a word for a church, but, you know, the dome is...
it's
Yeah.
mind blowing. And then
They didn't want the dome in the first place, but now that's what it's known for, right? So, And then you wanted to go down...
I wanted to go down and do the crypts, and you know, you've seen Nelson's column at Trafalgar Square, and so he's actually buried. Horatio Nelson was buried at St Paul's, and he was basically famous for beating a combination of the Spanish and the French at Trafalgar, and Trafalgar's actually off the coast of Spain. And then there was the Duke of Wellington. He was the guy that...
He sang, didn't he?
the Duke Duke Wellington. He defeated Napoleon at Waterloo, and basically that was Napoleon's last defeat. And of course, the Duke of Wellington has gone down.
It's also, I found the church is like a real memorial to servicemen.
Sure.
You know, even American servicemen that were involved in the war, and there's lots of little coves and things that have got lists of men who died and that sort of stuff. So
I think what the government's trying to do, or these particular facilities, they're trying to take it away from the Duke of Wellington and, you know, the leader, to more of a
encompassing
encompassing
inclusive.
everybody that, you know, from the lower ranks right through, which is fair enough.
So that was really great, wasn't it? We enjoyed that, and we finally stopped.
Yes.
At a really nice pub. Now, we've been to some nice pubs. Everyone talks about English pubs, but the first couple were nice, but we're just like, we weren't quite feeling the atmosphere. And what we realised is the pubs we'd been going into were all part of this big chain called Green King or King Green, and they all look the same and everything's the same. So they're not that authentic English sort of thing.
The menus are exactly the same.
And so we walked into this little pub. I don't know if it's called the Argyle Tavern or the Argyle.
I just thought it was the Argyle.
Oh yeah, okay. It was the Argyle. You're right. Once again, well done. And it was just fabulous little pub. Like low ceilings and lots of timber. And the people behind the bar were friendly and chatty.
Yes, we met Eva from Ireland.
Yeah, it was lovely. Only that I drank lime and soda because I still had a very tight ponytail.
She did. Leanne did.
Yeah. We enjoyed that whole experience, though. It was friendly.
I mean, Eva was so friendly, and it's actually in the Diamond District.
Yeah.
And they were saying how...
There was a movie made.
Yeah, there was a movie made about
a robbery.
A robbery, and it was all pensioners. And they were all ex-crims, obviously.
Yeah, Michael Caine was in it. I should know that. I think I've seen it.
Anyway, it was just around the actual robbery.
About 200 diamond shops.
Yeah, but the actual robbery was just around the corner from the Argyle, and and it was all in safety deposit boxes, obviously where they got in, and of course no one knows how much they took because no one's going to tell
what was in the safe deposit box.
The safety deposit box, but they found it under. They found the actual jewellery under a staircase at one of the pensioners' properties or something.
We'll
but it was just an interesting story.
Yeah, that was an interesting afternoon. Yeah, so that was our Thursday. Friday. Yeah. So as you can see, we've seen a lot up to this stage, and and all the iconic things. We've loved it, haven't we?
Yeah, I think, I mean, just to go back, Leanne was talking about the Marble Arch, and the Marble Arch is what the British equivalent to the Arc de Triomphe, and I've got to say the French do it so much better. But I'll leave it at that.
But there's so much here.
The Marble Arch is pretty...
Yeah, but everything else, Lyle.
Sure.
We didn't mention Big Ben.
Yes, Big Ben is a very large clock.
Yeah, but it's impressive. It's right there near Westminster Abbey.
Yeah, no. Look,
the Houses of Government there.
Everything you see on TV, whether it be in a movie or on the news or whatever about London, it's the way it looks. It is that. That's the way it looks.
There's so many things, iconic monuments, sites, buildings to see in such a tight area, really, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive. So we definitely had a real history education, haven't we?
Sure.
So here we are on our last day in London, and we've just been out and about, and we've just got back, and we want to tell you all about what we've done. Where have we been, Lyle?
The Tower of London.
Yeah, so we went for a walk. We knew we were heading to the Tower of London. We didn't have a ticket. It was late sort of morning. It's a sunny day. It's a Saturday. It's weekend. And it's a week before the Jubilee celebration. So as you can imagine, it was pretty damn busy. But, it wasn't too bad. We lined up, got our tickets. We went in. It's a pretty fascinating sort of area right there on the Thames, isn't it? And we got an audio guide. It was fabulous, wasn't it?
It cost, I think it was £29 each to get in.
Sure.
I'd suggest you don't need to pre-book it. We just lined up maybe for about 10 minutes. And then when we got inside, we got the audio.
I definitely recommend that.
Yeah, which was another £5, but I think it would take...
the best audio tour we've done, I think.
Yeah, it was really, really good.
Yeah, lots of information. You could do it at your own pace, and you could choose which area you wanted to go to. And I found it really good, actually. Great info. Was great. And then it's like a whole little, city on the inside, isn't it? We're surrounded by two walls. Like not just one sort of wall. They had one, and then they wanted to make it even safer, so they put another one around. So I didn't actually realise it was like a whole little community inside, which was pretty fascinating. All the different buildings and the they had everything in there, little hospitals and everything, didn't they?
Yeah, and it was built by William the Conqueror, which was a French guy. And he was, he built it basically to establish his power, because obviously England had never seen anything like it.
Well, he built that White Tower, didn't he? And he said at the time it was like the biggest, building or palace in the area. And at that time there's one bridge across the Thames. Now there's 18 apparently. So when you came down the river and you spotted this huge building, it was very intimidating, and that's exactly what he wanted to do.
Sure. That same White Palace, unfortunately, Anne Boleyn, which was the second wife of Henry VIII, she was tried there, and even though 3
years earlier she'd been coronated there.
Yeah. Yep.
And then she came back and had a trial and was in prison for 2 weeks before.
Losing her head, literally.
Had her head chopped off.
So, and she was accused of basically sleeping with her brother and 4 other guys. And, even though there was no evidence of it at all, the king wanted to get rid of her, and to marry Jane Seymour.
So the day after she was beheaded, he was engaged to
Jane Seymour. And she was.
But now the White Tower is like a museum, and it's full of the actual armour that Henry VIII wore. It starts off when he was in his 20s, and it was quite, complimentary and slimming. And then there's one where he's a fair bit older, and from the front it doesn't look so bad, but when you look from the side it's got quite a bit larger, and he's actually got armour to protect all sorts of body parts, which looks hilarious.
Yeah, if you've ever heard of Biggest Dickus, which is in the Life of Brian, I think he was about 50 when they made the armour, and he's got the biggest protruding phallic armour you've ever seen. It's actually, it was quite funny when we were there was quite young teenagers there, and they were all taking photos of it and and laughing. It was,
they were having a giggle.
Yeah, and it was laughable.
Yeah. But then you go down into the basement and they've got all these old guns, and you made the comment, how the freaking hell do they actually hold them, let alone shoot them?
I can't see how it could be that accurate because the guns that were there were, huge.
Yeah.
So to turn around and actually lift them to take a shot and actually hit something, I would imagine would be very, very hard.
So that was really impressive, that museum in that area.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, it was fabulous.
And then we went into the Crown Jewels building, which there was a huge lineup, and I'm like, oh, do I want to do this? But what they've done is they obviously realised people want to line up to see the Crown Jewels, so they've done some really great info on the audio tour. So while you're sort of waiting in line, you're listening to all about the annoying spoon.
They're not the annoying spoon, you banana. It was the anointing spoon.
I know, but just the annoying spoon sounds...
Yeah.
It got lost for a while, and some guy bought it for like 16 shillings, and then he hid it because they were getting rid of all the Crown Jewels. So he hid it and then brought it out later and went, ta-da, here you go. And he sold it for a whole lot more. So the anointing spoon and the spectre and the crown...
and the glow, and the orb, yeah.
And so there's a lot of information on the audio guide all about that, with some pictures and stuff. So by the time you sort of got through that, you're sort of almost at the front door. And you think you're almost there, but it's another bit of a wait inside. But, they've got pictures and films and things going about the history, which was really interesting. And then all of a sudden you're just confronted with this glass cabinet full of gold. I don't even know what they're called. All the priests and stuff hold, the big... Anyway, I don't know, it would have been about 50 of them, gold in the cabinet. And then you come across... a conveyor belt that you stand on. It's not a conveyor belt. What is it? Like a moving floor.
Elevator.
Yeah, so you have to hop on that to go past all the Crown Jewels. I thought there was one crown, dickhead. No, there would have been at least 10. Yeah, and then each one gets even more elaborate after the other, and then when you finally get to the end one, it's got that massive big.
Yeah, I think it's the Cunningham diamond, which is the biggest diamond that's ever been found in South Africa, and that was a gift.
Yeah, right.
To the English, obviously, monarchy.
So you've got rubies, sapphires, diamonds, gold, bling coming out everywhere, haven't you?
Oh yeah, look, if you're not impressed by it, there's something wrong with you. And actually, it was really
stunningly beautiful.
Yeah, and as Leanne was saying that, and I wasn't aware that there was actually a civil war in England, and part of that war was to get rid of the monarchy, and it was, I think, Charles either the first or the second, and he was killed. And that was when Oliver Cromwell was in charge for I think it was about 10 years. And so they got rid of the monarchy and they got rid of all the jewels.
They melted it down.
And they melted it down because Cromwell decided that wasn't the way to go. And then eventually the monarchy came back, not that long after.
No, the people decided they actually did want a monarchy, and it was anyway. So that was impressive. And the guy on the audio tour, they're saying, well, why would you have all that on display? And he's like, well, we haven't lost anything since 1673, so I think we're doing okay. So I'm glad they got it on display, though, because it's so, stunningly beautiful. And that's definitely something you should do when you come to London. So we really enjoyed the Tower of London, didn't we?
Sure. Yeah, it was great. It was. It's huge. It took us probably 3 hours to do the whole thing, and we weren't going that slow. So, look, for the money, but you've definitely got to get the audio tour because, to try and read all the plaques would just take forever. And obviously on a busy day, everybody's trying to read it, which means it just would take forever.
Yeah, because the audio too says if you come around the corner and you look at this display, and if it's a busy day, just stand to the side while you listen to this. Like they really guide you along. I thought it was great. But then it was time for a drink.
Sure.
So we left and we walked straight out onto the walkway along the Thames, and we're right there under the Tower Bridge, and so we thought we'd just go and find somewhere to have a little drink. So we found this lovely little, I don't even know what you'd call it, little outdoor bar, and I had a Pimm's cocktail because everyone here drinks Pimm's and I've never had it, so it was nice. Tastes like ginger ale, a bit of orange in there. You had a beer and we had something to eat, and we're just sitting there under the Tower Bridge thinking this is pretty special, especially for our last day. It was a really nice little spot. Lots of people, you can walk right over the Tower Bridge. We didn't want to do that, but it was a beautiful day and people out everywhere enjoying it, and we'd certainly recommend you doing that. So as I said, perfect last day. See or no?
See. And then
anything else you want to add?
Oh, then we walked home, and then we stopped off at our favourite English pub, the Argyle, and it was pretty quiet in that area. But we had I had a couple of beers, Asahi dries, and then we had a very, very, very nice Spanish Verdeo, just to get our mood right for tomorrow.
So a couple of, just before we finish off, Lyle, some last minute thoughts. I guess we would say that London is a very expensive city.
Yeah, it is. We've
had glasses of wine that have cost us $30 each. It's basically what we think is double what the prices are in Australia. So, not that we're having a whinge about it, but just be aware that if you want to have some time in London, it's not a cheap city to spend time in. The underground was a lot easier to use than what we thought.
Correct.
You can just zap your card in and out, which was brilliant. And we'd have to say you see so much when you walk, don't you? How many buildings and pubs and, the architecture and things, little parks and little gardens and little old churches that you just come across just by wandering the streets, don't you? Yeah,
I think I was surprised. We're not really into museums and history, churches.
Or art galleries. You love history.
Yeah. But I think you really realise, and because all the names are so familiar.
Yeah, Monopoly.
Monopoly, and also, who William the Conqueror is. Well, you've heard of Henry VIII, you've heard of William the Conqueror, you've heard of all these people.
Mary Antoinette.
Yeah, and but when you hear it basically comes to life. You understand.
Yeah, that's good. It does too.
And it becomes more real.
Yeah.
So,
would you recommend people come to London?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I think, we've been busy for 7 days.
Yeah, our feet are starting to.
Yeah, we've walked everywhere, but it's fabulous. And all right, we had some crook weather, but today was beautiful. But would I come back? Absolutely.
Yeah. But tomorrow we are off to Spain. But if you want to see any of this, any of the things we've done in London, just go to our Instagram at Beach Travel Wine and go to the story highlights and under London. You'll see, like I've done a little story every day of everywhere we've been, so you get a good pictures of what we've done there. And if you've missed our first podcast, it was all about Paris. You can go back and listen to that one. But as I said, tomorrow, Spain, so nos vemos el próxima semana en España.
Hasta luego.
Sí, hasta luego.
Mis amigos.
Mis amigos, sí.